AP1 short.
My name is Kosuke James. I'm a graphic artist. This is At Sometime Somewhere for AT1 Radio. Well, I'm originally from Japan. I was born there. And I moved to Philly when I was 10 with my family. And I just wanted to, just escape out of the environment of Philly. And New York was, at the time, the closest place. And yeah, it was just like an interesting place to me at the time. First got into art when I was still living in Japan. I was heavy into manga and anime. So, I would draw a lot of, characters and stuff like that. As I got older, when I moved to Philly, I kind of drifted from art to sports. So I played a lot of team sports until I was in high school. And then when I was getting into college, I kind of wanted to pursue something related to design. And architecture was the first thing that interested me. So I majored in that for 2.5 years. And then I realized I didn't want to do that anymore because it was very technical and complicated. And it's not something I could do every day sitting at home. So I started to explore elsewhere. And when I came to New York, a lot of the people around me, there were fashion designers, graphic designers, artists. Also, when I moved into Bushwick, there was a lot of street art and, graffiti around me. So that kind of really inspired me to pursue art again, because I never knew that art is something I could pursue as a career. The reason why I didn't want to pursue architecture anymore, the first reason was my professor said, hey, you have to go to school for another additional 3 years. And I was like, I do not want to do that. And at the time, I was kind of wanting to go to Japan too, but I had some family related stuff that wasn't really allowing me to go there. But yeah, also architecture, it's not, every day I could just design and build a building anytime I want. And I would need a team of people to work with. I would have to work at a firm. And like I said, it's a very complicated process. So I wanted to do something, that I could just be at home and, create on my own pretty much. At the time, the only thing I could do was illustrations. So I started with that. And graphic design just really interested me at the time. And I also had mentors who taught me some graphic design skills. I took a basic graphic design class at SVA for a semester. And also I interned at a couple of different companies. So that's kind of how I got the ball rolling. When I was working under a good friend of mine, he's a freelance graphic designer, and I would, often help with his projects. One of the biggest advices he told me was graphic design is not just creating; it's a business, and I feel that stuck out to me. And graphic design, I feel you have to know how to brand a business. And yeah, I just took my job more seriously, I guess. It's not just creating whatever you want and selling. I feel just as an artist, you're just making art, and then you're just kind of just showing and exhibiting your work just to sell, You're not really thinking about the business side of things. Some artists do, but I feel for graphic design, you have to think about the client. And I feel that's one of the, I would say one of the biggest lessons as a creative. So my first graphic design job in New York City was working for this restaurant management consulting company, and they managed about 6 or 7 restaurants in New York City, and bouncing off your question, like just teamwork. I would have to work with the restaurant managers on coming up with the menu design, like how we want it to look and what item off the menu we want to sell more, like how we make that more attractive to the customers that come into the restaurant to eat. I'll say that's one of those team experiences that I've had. So, like with a lot of Japanese restaurants, there's a lot of like seasonal menus. So, depending on the seasons, certain meals we just like push. Like let's say, I don't know if you're familiar with tsukemen. So it's like ramen, but it's like it's ramen that you dip into the soup. So it's like less hot when you eat it during the summer, and like it's not really familiar in the Western culture. So what we would do is like we would have like a special menu, but we would also like include infographics on how to eat tsukemen, because a lot of people, they would just think like, oh, just pour the soup over the noodles, but you actually have to like dip the noodles into the soup. So I moved to Bushwick in 2013, not really knowing what Bushwick is, and I kind of feel like it was fate, being surrounded by artists and street art, and that inspired me to start art. And then as years went on, I was blessed enough to meet wonderful people in the community. And actually, one of my best friends, he was curating this building that we got an opportunity to paint on. And that was during Bushwick Open Studios 2019. Bushwick Open Studios is a annual festival that happens once a year. And me and a couple of my friends, we were blessed enough to have an opportunity to paint the building where we were doing the art exhibition for the entire weekend. So the first mural that I did, I collaborated with another artist friend of mine. And at the time, I didn't know how to use spray paint. So we were just doing house paint. And it was interesting because that was the biggest canvas at the time that I painted on. And just, just dealing with the medium, but also the scale of things. It's completely big. So, and then the surface, depending on the walls, paint might have a different effect, or even the brush. So after I was done that, I collaborated on another wall of the same building with another artist. And then later in the week, towards the Bushwick Open Studios weekend, another opportunity opened up for me to paint the entrance of the building. And that's when I first experimented with spray paint. And I did half spray paint, half house paint. And yeah, it was just, it was a very fulfilling experience as an artist. It's actually still there. The first mural that I did with my friend Eunice, she's a cat lady. So we designed a cat tree. And at the time, I was doing a lot of abstract stuff. So I came up with the concept of like a futuristic cat tree. And then she incorporated her cat creatures or designs into the painting. And then the second one was with my friend Max, and he has a comic book called Goofy Fruit. It's a comic book based off all these like different fruit characters, and it's one pineapple character fighting a pomegranate character, and around those two characters I put my own abstract twist to it. And then the third one I did of the entrance of that building, I did my own two characters with my aesthetics. The entrance, the one on the entrance one was covered, but the two other ones are still there.
Where is this again?
It's in Bushwick. It's on Wyckoff and Willoughby. So it's like right off the L train on Jefferson. I would just say like it wasn't just the mural experience. It was like the whole entire week of just artists getting together, and I just met so many people in the community, and especially that whole weekend. Like there's multiple events throughout the neighborhood, parties. There's people outside. Like I even saw like a group of people like doing hot pot, on the sidewalk, which was very bizarre. Um, yeah, and there is Bushwick Open Studio still till this day, but I feel like because of COVID, it's not really the same since. I feel like 2019 was like the pinnacle, like the prime of like Bushwick in my eyes, and some of my friends too, and some of the friends that I spent time with at the time are like still some of my closest friends. So that whole event was very memorable to me. I would say doing art in New York City, especially street art, I feel like it gives you an outlet to connecting with not only artists but people that walk by on the streets, and you don't know who you're gonna meet. And yeah, it's just an interesting experience. It's not just you experiencing that moment, but you could share it with people around you. Earlier this year, I was painting a mural at Freeman's Alley, which is like right off Bowery. It's not too far away from here. So it was like a couple weeks after Akira Toriyama died, when he passed away. So I wanted to do like a tribute mural for this guy. So while I was painting, I was looking down at the entrance of the alleyway, and I was like, "Is that Calls?" So I was just like minding my own business, and I kind of like stepped back from the mural, and I was like looking at him while he was like on the way to the restaurant, and he just says, "What's up?" And I said, "What's up?" And he just walks in, and then some of my other friends came by later because they were painting murals as well, and I was like, "I don't want to blow the spot up, but I think I saw Calls." And they were like, "No, no, no, it's not Calls." And then a couple hours later, he comes out, and indeed, it was Calls. But he was just by himself, like, just, I don't know who he was with at the restaurant, but it was just like a bizarre experience. And he was very, like, as he was walking in the alley, he was admiring all the artwork that was there. And I really like that. Like, that's artist to artist, like, moment, I feel like. So that was like a interesting mirror experience that I had that I would have probably never experienced if I was just making art at home, So especially Freeman's Alley, like, there's a lot of tourists, because there's also a hotel in that alley. And yeah, people come by to take pictures, and, they'll ask me like, "Oh, what are you painting?" Or, "What's your Instagram handle? How did you get into art? Where could I follow your work?" It's just so many opportunities to meet people from all walks of life, which is like super interesting. Since it's the year of the dragon this year, 2024, I decided to do a limited collection series of dragons. I painted my first dragon just as like a experiment because, like dragons are very detailed and it's very tough to draw in general. And my first one came out pretty good. It might have been the best painting I've done so far. And I decided to do a limited series. My goal for this year is to do at least 6 or 7 different dragon paintings. And the reason why is because I think it's interesting for the collectors and buyers of art to collect artwork. And I'm a collector myself, especially in the trading cards industry. I got back into trading cards back in 2020, and ever since then, I've been dabbling with a lot of niche vintage trading cards, and I just feel like the collecting aspect of art makes it interesting for people. I would say the ideal situation is to build that community. And I feel like being a trading card collector and being an artist, I feel like there's a big disconnect between two industries. I feel like artists don't really know the perspective of collectors, and collectors don't really understand the perspective of artists. And I kind of want to be that bridge, passionate about something. And if you're pursuing a goal, the fastest shortcut is to do that thing every day. And if you don't want to do it every day, then I don't know if you really want to do it. So one of my things right now is just to draw at least once a day. Just get the time out to draw, whether it's 10, 30 minutes or to an hour. Just make the time to draw. Because at the end of the day, like as a visual artist, whether it's doing paintings, spray painting, or doing murals, the most fundamental part of that art is drawing.
AE1 Sort.
At Sometimes Somewhere is produced by Audio-Technica for AT1 Radio. It is recorded at AT1 Studio at Technica House, New York. Follow AT1 Radio and Audio-Technica USA on all social media platforms. Thanks for listening.